Welcome everybody, this is How to English with Gav and Em.
It's a podcast about teaching and learning English as a foreign language.
All opinions stated are personal and source materials will be referenced where possible. Hi Em.
Hello.
Now we're going to do a podcast.
Let's do the podcast.
Okay,
We're
I
not
am
good
ready.
at beginnings
We're
and
not. We
ends.
need to practice this.
Yes.
Okay, I thought
week.
this time we could do slightly more laid back, more conversation style.
Oh, all right.
Because these topics today are maybe things that we've definitely thought about in the past, but we are definitely not specialists. We are learning ourselves as we're going along.
Okay.
So I thought today it might be best to discuss these topics together.
Okay. Which topics are we talking about?
The topics we are talking about are politically correct language.
Yeah.
So we're not being the politically correct police here.
No.
We are definitely talking about our own opinions and especially language that we try to avoid, or maybe say to students, well, I'm not sure that is the correct way to say it. Maybe you could try this. Mm-hmm. Just give them some alternatives. Definitely don't say this is wrong because of this. I mean, just maybe make it more of a discussion.
I think so. I think there are certain words that maybe are
That's true. There
taboo.
are words you mustn't say.
I think, but you're right. We're not there to sort of make people feel bad.
No, ultimately, we're language teachers. We're there in order to exchange language, to give people an opportunity to express themselves for whatever reason they're studying English.
To educate people, I suppose, is the key, isn't it? Like to help people and help them learn. And
that sounded slightly patronising.
What I mean by that is that I think whenever I've had someone in a lesson, a student say something that may be politically incorrect or insensitive or even offensive, there's always... You've got to think of it from, the other side. Maybe they've just heard it somewhere or they've heard someone else say it, a colleague or a friend.
Yeah.
And maybe that person doesn't know it's a bad word or they're not sure what it means.
Yes.
I think the reaction you have as a teacher must be one that is not, anger or upset or, you've got to, like you said, discuss it. Say, where did you hear that word? Why are you saying that word? And then explain why it's not polite, why it's bad maybe, or just in fact say it's not acceptable anymore to say those words. Or
there's some words that are in the past and we don't talk about them anymore. We don't use them to describe things.
I don't mean to sound patronising, but as an educator, I think as a teacher, that is part of our job to do that and to just help, I suppose.
Absolutely. And I think we're both realising over the last few years that there are particular topics we need to focus on and
how
address.
To deal with that.
Yeah, because I've had a look at some websites and watched a few videos and I thought, I make some of those mistakes still, and I say some of those words and I've not really thought about it hard enough and thought to myself, well, actually, maybe there's another word or expression I should use here. And as you said, make the students aware also while we're teaching. So this episode will be from the teacher's point of view, but I think it's really useful for students as well. Yeah. I think they can get a lot from this.
And I think what you said is really useful to, what I said was that sometimes it's a word that students come across that they've never seen and they're experimenting with. But other times it is, as you said, it's a word that we've just put into our vocabulary and not questioned or just used it for our whole lives or for a very long time.
Everybody seems to use it.
Yeah, you see it maybe or you hear it in films or programs and you just don't realise until someone points out, actually, that's not a polite word or, that's not what I want to be called, whatever. And that is a constant learning process, I think, as you go through any language at any level. You have to keep up to date with what is going on with the language. And maybe as a teacher it's more on us to know what's going on and to keep ourselves in kind of the loop of what the language is doing and how it's changing and
Because that's easier for us to do than maybe a learner, because as it's not their first language, they maybe wouldn't know some of the historical context of the language.
Yeah. So do you think it's important to explain? Because I did mention before we should explain why it's bad. Do you think it's a good thing to do that, to sort of explain what it connects to and why it's offensive?
Yeah, I think the first one that comes to mind, for example, is the word handicapped. And it's still quite prevalent in many countries. When I hear the students talk to me in English and they talk about handicapped, and I just kind of break it down to what I know, that it's like hand in cap. And that would be...
I didn't know that. Is it? Really? Can you just go back a bit? What?
Yeah, that's as far as I know, that's what it refers to, like beggars, basically.
Oh, wow.
So instead of saying handicap, we would obviously say a disabled person.
Well, there you go. That is a perfect example. Now you've explained it to me, I'm thinking, that is not good.
That doesn't sound so good, does it?
No.
Exactly.
So I think you're right. It helps actually to reference it and explain it, and then it's memorable as well.
Yes.
Because your students may not think it's important, or, that they don't understand why it's bad.
Yeah.
But that is a very good way to make people, see it and understand it. And as I'm talking and I'm saying things and I'm thinking, I probably shouldn't be using these phrases like, see it, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Okay, well, so we've already mentioned maybe some ableist language. So
Have we?
Maybe handicap is a reference to people with disabilities or disabled people. So ableist language refers to... Actually, I don't have the dictionary definition in my head, but I guess it refers to people's ability to do certain things. So we assume, we might assume that people can see. We might assume people can hear.
Yeah.
And there are so many expressions in English that refer to senses, for example, or things like, I often teach my students on the other hand. And, I think a good test for this language is if you were talking to somebody with a disability, say, for example, a person with only one hand, one arm, you probably would feel uncomfortable saying, well, on the other hand, something.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good way to test the language.
Okay.
And say, does that sound okay? If it doesn't sound okay in this case, in this situation, then maybe I shouldn't use it generally.
You're right.
Because then I won't offend anybody.
So if in doubt, I think maybe...
Try it out.
No, don't try it out. I think just say it to yourself and think, well, would I say that to someone?
Exactly.
Sight impaired, would you say, I don't know, blind to something? You just wouldn't. It would be offensive to that person.
Yeah.
So I think that's very useful as a way to sort of judge it yourself if you're not sure.
Definitely. There's a big... we often say things like, I'm really crazy today, or, it's making me go mad doing this thing. But again, these are referring to people with maybe somebody with a mental health disability. And obviously, I think we talk about slurs. So this is a kind of... a negative word that you would say to describe somebody. So all of those words can kind of be removed from... It's very difficult to not use them because they're really everyday language.
Yeah.
But again, just think about it.
I don't know, is it a slur? It's not like you're using it in a offensive way. It's just insensitive, isn't it, to someone who
my examples were like, I'm having a difficult day, but... If you describe somebody as, that person is crazy.
Yeah.
Then obviously that's an insult. That's a slur.
That would be a slur. But like, this situation is crazy. It's just insensitive, I think, to that group of people. So what do you say instead? You said difficult?
Yeah. Often with that, we might say wild.
Like I'm just wild at the moment. Or
it's a really wild day.
She's wild.
This person is impulsive.
Right.
Maybe unpredictable.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing about English is it's got a massive vocabulary. There are so many adjectives to describe different situations.
It's just remembering, I suppose.
Yeah.
But just coming back to those sort of words about ability, like see, hear.
Yeah.
It just occurred to me because last week I was teaching and I had a problem with I think there was a connection problem. Somebody couldn't connect to the lesson.
Yeah.
And I said,
online.
Yeah, online. And he wrote, I'm having connection problems. I'm not available or something. And I said, I see. And he wrote, I don't understand. You can't see me. There's no connection. And I said, well, no, I mean, I understand. And, and then I realised it's interesting that a lot of languages don't use these words. And that is an interesting thing, isn't it? That maybe the English language has not really considered what it's doing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's not...
there are so many expressions that are based around senses.
Yeah, and it's not necessary. And I think if you look in English books, in vocabulary books, there are whole sections about verbs of the senses, and they're not used in sort of the way that they would ordinarily be used. They're used in a very abstract way, like to mean I understand, or
as we said, maybe it's not necessary.
I think it's something we should review. We should definitely review and think why are we using these words.
Another one is if we describe something as depressing, again, obviously, that's something that shouldn't be taken lightly. And
I guess it could be a trigger word as well. Yeah. Then you might not want to be, reminded of it or
definitely
thinking about it.
So say sad, say dismal or saddening or something. Yeah. Just have a look in the thesaurus, pick a few out.
It's difficult though, isn't it? That one is a very common word.
It is, absolutely. It's everywhere.
Things can change, it's not impossible. Mm-hmm. Okay, so definitely just, I think, as a teacher, do as much research as you can. Even just Google, that's all I've done. Google things you shouldn't say, or
actually, we'll
offensive words.
We'll put some links in the show notes because there are a couple of really good websites where people discuss this, and there are lists with alternatives. I've used a couple of them. So
me too, but maybe just do it every couple of months, or even once every 6 months, just to keep yourself up to date. Yeah, because these lists do change. I think as well. I heard something about the word hysterical. That you're not supposed to use that either because it connects to Latin and it connects to the word for uterus or something, which is an intrinsically female thing, and it was used to describe women. But again, I think this one is a hard one to discuss because how many people know that, but maybe it becomes more common and then the conversation is out there and people just think, oh, well, maybe I won't use that one.
Well, that's, as you say, open the conversation. Start thinking about, do you feel comfortable using some of these words? Do you want to share them with your students? Students, do you want to be more, I don't know if politically correct is really the best term, but do you want to be more sensitive about the language you use? Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
Definitely, yeah.
So that naturally leads into sexism.
Okay, So what about it, Gav?
Well, I remember when I make worksheets to try and put photos of people who are, for example, when you think of doctor, some people think of men. And so I always try to make sure if I was like the topic was about doctors, I would put pictures of female doctors and, nurses. We often think of women. And so let's put some male nurses in there, just kind of mix things up to be more reflective of actual life.
Yeah. Somebody's cleaning or, doing these jobs that are, typically expected to be done by one gender. So that I agree is a good thing just to keep that going on your visually, like anything you prepare, just try and keep that as varied as you can. Yeah. Don't assume gender, I think, is another thing when people are talking and, somebody might say, oh, my boss was really angry today.
They say, so what was his problem?
Yeah. No. So if you're not sure, like obviously then you want to say what was...
Yes, okay.
What was your boss's problem? But that's a bit repetitive.
This is where we have a little problem with English because we don't have the pronoun which is neutral.
Well, it is neutral. Mate, what do you mean?
We've got he, she.
Oh, right. I see what you mean.
Are you going to lead to the fact? Because I actually teach they.
Yeah, well, I think that is the neutral now. Just such a good key thing to remember.
We do, yeah. So your point is that we do say they instead of he or she.
So if I say, my boss was really angry.
Why were they angry?
Okay,
which is confusing for lower level students because often we say they meaning plural, but here we mean they as in singular. We don't know if it's male or female.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say, is your boss a man or a woman? I don't know. Would you? Is it important? I mean,
Is it important? Why do you need to know?
I just think that the point is that the boss was angry, so focus on that.
Don't focus on what? Because it's a man.
Yeah, you don't need to know. See that again? It's the conversation you have. Like a student says, my boss was angry. You say, well, is your boss a man or a woman? And the answer is, well, what's that got to do with it? I just want to know which pronoun to use. Isn't a good invitation to start the conversation. Focus on the important thing. Okay. And this, grouping of people, ladies, girls, lads, guys.
Yeah.
What?
It annoys me.
Does it?
And then, the problem, I shouldn't complain, but it sounds really...
Sexist.
Sexist. It sounds really patronising. These like ladylike qualities that women have. Like, it's a strange thing to say. And I say to my students, well, you don't say gentlemen. You don't say there were a group of ladies there and a group of gentlemen there. So
that's one thing. But I mean, you might, maybe as a teacher, you might say, okay, lads. But that, again, it's like you're labelling, aren't you?
I even struggle with guys.
Yeah.
And that's so common now.
It is very common. But I just avoid it, to be honest. I don't say anything to really collect people as a group. I just say, okay, you lot is usually what I say.
Well, everyone.
Well, if you you set up a game in a lesson. Yeah. You've got two teams. I usually just say, okay, team 1, team 2, and I refer to them as teams like that. But nice. If I want to, vary it, I say, okay, you lot, what are you working on? Yeah,
of course you say whatever's natural, but we definitely don't say, ladies and gents and
and all this like let's do the girls against the boys kind of thing. I'm not a fan. It's up to you. It's your classroom. If you decide to do that, but just be maybe ready for people to not like it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Are we going to talk about pushback?
What do you mean?
I don't know, just in case people say, oh, this is all nonsense.
Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, expect it. Expect it in the classroom. Expect it with your peers. Just, again, it's fine for people to have different opinions. Let's just talk about it. And if it's not important to you, then move on and talk about something else.
Yeah.
I brought up things with my students and they clearly are not interested. But sometimes they are interested and they just think, oh, okay, well, this is a conversation that's happening somewhere. Maybe not in my country, maybe not in my town or wherever.
Okay.
But yeah, it could be interesting to them. And I think it's important.
You're just talking about if you bring in an article or something, like a news article
Possibly.
about what's been going on.
Me saying to my student, please stop saying ladies. The ladies will be here in 10 minutes.
Oh, I see.
There is a bit like, well, why can't I say this? And, well, I like it.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, they like it usually is what people say.
Yeah.
Do they? Have you asked them?
Well, I was going to say the worst thing is because then the students do ask the ladies or the women and the women say, oh, well, that's wonderful. Or I have students that say, oh, well, I've got colleagues from other countries and they all use the word ladies. And I say, well, you can use it. It's just you might find that some people are quite offended by it.
Yeah. I think that is something as well. It's definitely a cultural thing. I had a student who said he had a colleague come from America for a business trip and he opened the door for her and said, okay, ladies first. And she just basically just shouted at him, I don't need your help and I don't need, support from you. And, and he didn't understand. He thought, it was polite. It was very nice to do that, and he had no idea why she was offended by it. So
maybe that person's teacher was in a culture where it was completely normal to use that language.
Yeah, I think it's really hard as a student, to pick up this language, and you want to sound natural and very, confident and fluent, and then you try something and it backfires.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for your confidence because it's not a language thing. You might get it perfectly right. The phrase is perfect, grammar's perfect. It's just offensive to someone.
So that was what were the other?
Well, I just think as well
accents.
If we're talking about accents, teaching accents, which is useful, but I would never actually replicate the accent myself.
Yeah, okay, that's an interesting one.
Trying to show the difference between American, Australian, Indian, British English. I would just try and find videos or recordings or people even that you can actually just get an authentic recording of an accent.
Well, rather than sort of mimic the accent yourself.
Yeah.
Is that because you're just not very good at accents?
No, I am not good at accents, but not for that reason. Even if I was good at accents, I would just feel that was a bit dodgy.
Okay.
Wouldn't do it.
That's
personally.
Interesting. Yeah.
Cutting Edge has a very good section on accents, actually.
Okay.
New Cutting Edge and I think the old version. And it does compare accents, and it's like a news report of different countries, and it's authentic, and it's good.
So it actually breaks it down into there are particular sounds that will be pronounced differently between different nations.
Yeah, definitely. So as well, I think if you've been asked to recommend TV programs or films, books, just be a bit mindful maybe of recommending 1970s comedies from the UK or something. Okay. I don't know, just...
There are some dodgy ones.
Really dodgy ones. So just maybe screen it first and make sure it's not really bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, I'm sure.
About, yes.
Okay, I think that's everything from me.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sure there's some other topics that we should have covered, but I think we sort of generally covered the things that we were looking to talk about today.
Yeah, I think we've looked at, language itself, vocabulary, idioms that may be offensive, outdated, that we need to constantly be reviewing. We've talked about gender and how to avoid being stereotypical in your lessons.
That's it,
and using with your materials as well. Yeah,
definitely don't stereotype people. That's a really good point.
Yeah. What else? Is there anything else? Don't imitate accents if you can avoid it. I think maybe just get something real.
Yeah, get some more authentic materials, because there's so much stuff out there now. It's absolutely brilliant. So have a look at that online. And I think that might be it.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're going to we'll come back to this sometime, and we'll have a good chat about it again. Okay, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we should probably get lots of feedback from people, and we want to know your opinions, because this is obviously just our opinion, and we'd be really interested to see what everybody else thinks, if there's some alternatives to some of the kind of dodgy expressions, as we've kind of coined it.
I hope dodgy's okay. We should probably find out where that one comes from.
That's true. Okay, well, we're learning as fast as we're teaching, which is a great thing.
Just got to keep up. That's people.
Keep up with the pace. That's it, exactly. All right. Em, it has been an absolute honour chatting with you.
Oh, really? Wow, that sounds nice. Yeah, me too, Gav. Thank you.
And to all our followers across the social networks of Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. People can actually go to our YouTube channel, and if you put on the subtitles, there's some sort of automatic subtitle setting, and you can follow what we're actually saying. Well, it's not always correct.
I was going to say, do they always... No,
there might be a few errors, but if you are struggling with any of the language, you can always have a look there. But some feedback would be really appreciated. And that's it. That's it from me.
And me. Okay. Have a good day.
Catch you later.
Bye.